Sophia's feet were killing her. She'd been standing for 8 hours straight, refilling coffee cups and wiping down tables at the diner. The smell of grease and burnt toast had seeped into her uniform so deep that no amount of washing could get it out anymore. She glanced at the clock on the wall. 10 more minutes until closing time. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. Probably her landlord again. He'd been calling and texting all week about the rent. Sophia pulled out her phone with her free hand while balancing a tray of dirty dishes in the other. The screen was badly cracked from when she dropped it last month. She couldn't afford to fix it, and she definitely couldn't afford a new one. She set the tray down behind the counter and stared at her phone. $300 short on rent. $300 might as well be $3,000 the way her bank account looked. At 7 months pregnant with twins, she was running out of options fast. Her manager called out from the kitchen. "Sophia, you good to lock up?" "Yeah, I got it," she called back, her voice tired. The diner emptied out. Sophia grabbed the mop and started on the floors, her back aching with every movement. The twins were active tonight, kicking and tumbling inside her belly like they were already fighting for space. She pressed a hand to her side and winced. Everything hurt these days. Finally, she locked the front door and walked to the bus stop. The night air was cold, and her thin jacket wasn't doing much to keep her warm. She pulled out her phone again and opened her messages. She needed to text her landlord, beg for more time. Just 2 more weeks until her next paycheck. Maybe he'd understand. Her fingers moved quickly over the cracked screen, typing out the message she'd been rehearsing in her head all day. "Please, I need more time. The twins are coming soon and I'm doing everything I can. Just 2 more weeks." She hit send and slumped against the bus stop shelter. The bus ride home took 40 minutes. Sophia lived on the edge of the city where rent was cheaper, which meant longer commutes to everything. She rested her head against the cold window and closed her eyes. Tomorrow she had to clean houses in the morning, then back to the diner for the evening shift. She'd given up her overnight stocking job last week when she nearly fainted from exhaustion, but now she was regretting that decision. Her phone buzzed. That was fast. Her landlord usually took hours to respond. She looked down at the screen, squinting at the cracked glass. "Who is this?" "Are you okay?" Sophia's stomach dropped. That wasn't her landlord. She scrolled up and felt her face go hot with embarrassment. Wrong number. She'd texted a completely random person with her desperate plea for help. How had that happened? She looked at her contacts list and realized the cracked screen had made her select the wrong name. There was a number saved under business card guy, right above her landlord's contact. She remembered now. Some businessman had left his card at the diner a few months ago, asking her to call if she ever wanted to discuss opportunities. She'd saved the number, thinking maybe it was a job offer, but never followed up. And now she'd accidentally sent him the most humiliating message of her life. Her fingers trembled as she typed back, "I'm so sorry. Wrong number. Please ignore that message." She thought that would be the end of it. Most people would have just moved on. But her phone buzzed again. "It's okay. But are you really okay?" That message sounded serious. Sophia stared at the screen. Why was this stranger asking if she was okay? She should just stop responding, but something about the question made her throat tight. Nobody had asked if she was okay in months. Not since her boyfriend walked out when she told him it was twins. "I'm fine. Really sorry to bother you." The bus pulled up to her stop. Sophia struggled to her feet, one hand supporting her belly as she shuffled down the aisle. Her apartment building was 3 blocks away. The elevator was broken again, and she lived on the 4th floor. She took the stairs slowly, pausing every few steps to catch her breath. Inside her tiny studio apartment, Sophia locked the door and leaned against it. The place was freezing. The heater barely worked, and she kept it on the lowest setting to save money. She could see her breath in the air. She pulled an extra blanket from the closet and wrapped it around her shoulders. Her phone buzzed again. She'd forgotten about the stranger. "Can I ask you something? You mentioned twins. Where's their father?" Sophia felt tears spring to her eyes. She should stop responding. This was weird, right? Texting with some random person about her personal life. But she was so tired and so alone, and something about the anonymity made it easier to tell the truth. He left when he found out it was twins. Said he couldn't handle it. The response came quickly. "I'm sorry. Do you have family helping you?" "No family. Just me." "And you're working while 7 months pregnant with twins?" "3 jobs. Well, 2 now. I had to quit one. There was a longer pause this time. Sophia pulled off her shoes and wiggled her swollen feet. She should eat something, but she was too tired to cook. She grabbed a granola bar from the cabinet and sat down on her bed, which was also her couch since the apartment was too small for both. Her phone rang. An actual call. From the same number. Sophia's heart started racing. Should she answer? This was getting strange, but something made her swipe to accept. Hello? Her voice came out small and uncertain. Hi. I'm sorry to call like this. My name is Alexander Chen. I'm the CEO of TechCore Solutions. You accidentally texted my personal cell? Sophia's face burned with embarrassment. A CEO. She'd accidentally sent her desperate, pathetic message to some rich businessman. I'm so sorry, Mr. Chen. I didn't mean to bother you. My screen is cracked and I hit the wrong contact. Please don't apologize. I want to help you, Sophia laughed, but it came out bitter. Help me? You don't even know me. You're right, I don't, but I know what it's like to be desperate. I grew up poor. Really poor. My mother worked herself to death trying to provide for me. His voice was quiet, serious. I can't ignore someone in your situation. I won't. That's very kind, but I don't need charity. Even as she said it, Sophia knew it was a lie. She absolutely needed help. She needed a miracle. It's not charity. It's paying forward the help I wish someone had given my mother. He paused. Can you tell me where you are? I'd like to meet you. Every warning bell in Sophia's head went off. Meeting a stranger from a wrong number text? That was how horror stories started. I don't think that's a good idea. I understand. You don't know me. But let me prove I'm legitimate. Look up TechCore Solutions. Look up my name. I'll wait. Sophia put the call on speaker and searched his name. Alexander Chen, CEO and founder of TechCore Solutions, one of the biggest tech companies in the state. There were photos of him at charity events, business conferences, accepting awards. He was in his mid-30s, successful, and apparently genuine about helping people. She picked up the phone again. Okay, you're real. But why would you want to help me? Because someone should. And I can. Please, just give me your address. Let me do something. If you're not comfortable, I can send my assistant instead. Sophia looked around her freezing apartment, thought about the eviction notice that would probably come next week, thought about bringing 2 babies into this mess. What did she have to lose? She gave him the address. 3 days had passed since that strange phone call with Alexander Chen. Sophia had half convinced herself it was all some elaborate prank or that he'd simply forgotten about her after hanging up. Rich people probably said things like, I want to help all the time without meaning it. She'd gone back to her routine, dragging herself through endless shifts and trying not to think about the rent money she still didn't have. It was Thursday afternoon, and she was working her second job cleaning houses in the suburbs. Mrs. Patterson's house was her last stop for the day, a massive 5-bedroom place that took 3 hours to clean properly. Sophia was on her hands and knees scrubbing the kitchen floor when her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Sophia Reyes? A woman's voice, professional and kind. Yes, who's calling? My name is Jennifer Park. I'm Mr. Chen's executive assistant. He asked me to reach out to you. Are you available to talk? Sophia sat back on her heels, her heart starting to race. Sure. I'm working right now, though. I understand. Mr. Chen wanted me to let you know he's arranged a few things. First, he owns several apartment buildings in the city. There's a vacant 2-bedroom unit in one of his better properties. He'd like to offer it to you rent-free until you're back on your feet after the babies are born. Sophia's hand went to her mouth. She must have heard that wrong. I'm sorry, what? A 2-bedroom apartment, fully furnished, utilities included. No rent for at least 6 months, possibly longer depending on your situation. Jennifer's voice was matter-of-fact, like she was discussing a business meeting instead of changing someone's entire life. Additionally, our company's charitable foundation will cover all your medical expenses related to the pregnancy and delivery. You'll be transferred to Dr. Morrison's practice. She's one of the best maternal fetal specialists in the state. This is a joke, right? Sophia's voice cracked. People don't just do this. Mr. Chen does. He's very serious about helping you. Jennifer paused. I know it sounds too good to be true. I had the same reaction when I first started working for him, but he means every word. There are no strings attached, no contracts, nothing you need to sign. Just help when you need it most. Sophia started crying right there on Mrs. Patterson's kitchen floor, her soapy hands pressed against her face. Why? Why would he do this for a complete stranger? That's a question you'll have to ask him yourself. He'd like to meet you properly if you're comfortable with that. Would tomorrow work for you? Sophia wiped her eyes with her sleeve, trying to process what was happening. I have to work at the diner tomorrow. I can't afford to miss a shift. What time is your shift? Morning shift. 6 to 2. How about 3 o'clock then? I can pick you up from the diner and take you to see the apartment. Mr. Chen will meet us there. Sophia took a shaky breath. This was insane. This didn't happen in real life. But what choice did she have? Okay, 3 o'clock. The next day dragged by impossibly slow. Sophia kept checking the clock between orders. Her stomach twisted in knots. Part of her still expected this Jennifer person to never show up. At 2:30, she changed out of her uniform in the diner bathroom and tried to make herself look presentable. Her maternity jeans were worn and her sweater had a stain she couldn't get out, but it was the best she had. At exactly 3 o'clock, a sleek black car pulled up outside the diner. A woman in her 40s stepped out, professional looking in a gray suit. She spotted Sophia through the window and smiled, waving her over. Sophia, I'm Jennifer. It's wonderful to meet you in person. She opened the car door. Please get in. The car was nicer than any Sophia had ever been in. Leather seats, not a speck of dirt anywhere. She felt embarrassed by her stained sweater and scuffed shoes. Jennifer must have noticed because she said gently, Mr. Chen grew up with nothing. He doesn't care about appearances. He cares about people. They drove for 20 minutes into a much nicer part of the city. Jennifer pulled up to a modern apartment building with a doorman and a fountain out front. Sophia's eyes went wide. This is where the apartment is? This is it. Come on, let me show you. The lobby was all marble and glass. Sophia had walked past buildings like this before but never imagined going inside one. Jennifer led her to the elevator and pressed the button for the 8th floor. When the doors opened, a man was standing in the hallway waiting for them. Alexander Chen looked exactly like his photos, but somehow more real. He was tall, dressed in an expensive suit, but his expression was warm and nervous. He stepped forward with his hand extended. Sophia, thank you for coming. I know this must all seem very strange. Sophia shook his hand, not trusting herself to speak. Up close, she could see the sincerity in his eyes. This wasn't some rich guy looking for a tax write-off. This was someone who genuinely wanted to help. Let me show you the apartment. He unlocked a door and held it open for her. Sophia stepped inside and felt her knees go weak. The apartment was beautiful. Hardwood floors, big windows with natural light streaming in, a full kitchen with modern appliances. Jennifer steadied her with a hand on her elbow as Alexander led them through the space. 2 bedrooms, like Jennifer mentioned. We thought you might want one for you and one as a nursery for the twins. He opened a door to reveal a room that was already set up with 2 cribs, a changing table, and a rocking chair. My sister helped pick out the furniture. I hope that's okay. If you don't like any of it, we can change it. Sophia walked into the nursery and ran her hand over one of the cribs. The wood was smooth and warm. There were soft blankets folded inside, tiny clothes hanging in the closet, diapers stacked on shelves. Everything 2 babies would need. She turned back to Alexander, tears streaming down her face. Why are you doing this? Please, I need to understand. Alexander's expression grew distant, sad. My mother raised me alone. My father left before I was born. She worked 3 jobs just like you. She never complained, never asked for help, just kept working herself into the ground trying to give me a better life. He paused, his voice getting quieter. When I was 16, she collapsed at work. The doctor said it was her heart, but it was really exhaustion and stress and years of not taking care of herself because she couldn't afford to. She died 2 days later. Sophia put her hand over her mouth, fresh tears falling. I built my company in her honor. I made more money than I ever dreamed possible. But I can't bring her back. I can't help her anymore. Alexander looked directly at Sophia. But when I got your text, I saw a chance to help someone else's mother. To make sure another woman doesn't have to work herself to death because no one cared enough to step in. I don't know what to say. Sophia's voice was barely a whisper. You don't have to say anything. Just accept the help. Move in, see the doctors, focus on staying healthy for those babies. Alexander pulled a key from his pocket and held it out to her. This is yours for as long as you need it. Sophia took the key with shaking hands. The metal was cool against her palm, solid and real. This was actually happening. I can't just take this without giving anything back. Let me work for you. I'll clean your offices, I'll do anything. If it makes you feel better, we can arrange something, but not cleaning. Alexander glanced at Jennifer, who nodded. Our company cafeteria could use help. Light work, nothing physically demanding. A few hours a day if you want, but only if you want to, Sophia. This apartment isn't conditional on anything. Jennifer stepped forward with a warm smile. How about we let you look around on your own for a bit? Take your time. I'll be in the hallway whenever you're ready. We can start moving your things tomorrow if you'd like. They left Sophia alone in the apartment. She walked from room to room, touching the furniture, looking out the windows at the city below. The master bedroom had a comfortable bed with clean sheets. The bathroom had a bathtub, something her studio apartment had never had. The kitchen cabinets were stocked with food, real food, not just ramen and canned soup. She ended up back in the nursery, sitting in the rocking chair between the two cribs. For the first time in months, Sophia let herself imagine a future that didn't involve constant fear and exhaustion. She imagined her twins sleeping peacefully in these cribs, imagined rocking them in this chair, imagined having enough to eat and a warm place to sleep. 3 days ago, she'd sent a desperate text to the wrong number. Today, a stranger was offering her a chance at a real life. Sophia knew she'd spend the rest of her life trying to understand why Alexander Chen had chosen to help her. But right now, sitting in that nursery with tears running down her face, she decided to just accept the miracle she'd been given. She stood up, walked to the hallway, and found Jennifer waiting patiently. When can I move in? Jennifer smiled. How about tomorrow? Sophia woke up in her new bed and forgot where she was for a moment. The mattress was soft, the room was warm, and sunlight was streaming through actual curtains instead of a torn bedsheet taped to the wall. Then reality hit her, and she had to resist the urge to pinch herself. This was real. She really lived here now. It had been 2 weeks since she'd moved into the apartment. Jennifer had helped her pack up her old studio, which had taken all of 30 minutes since Sophia barely owned anything. Her few boxes of belongings looked lost in the spacious new apartment. But Jennifer had thought of everything. The kitchen was stocked, the bathroom had toiletries. There were even maternity clothes in the closet in her size. Mr. Chen wanted to make sure you had everything you needed. Jennifer had explained when Sophia protested about the clothes. Please just accept them. You can pay it forward someday when you're in a position to help someone else. That phrase stuck with Sophia. Pay it forward, not pay it back. Alexander wasn't expecting anything in return. That thought made her uncomfortable in ways she couldn't quite explain. She'd spent her whole life scraping by, owing people, always behind on something. The idea of receiving help with no strings attached felt wrong somehow, like she was breaking an unspoken rule. So she'd insisted on working. Alexander had set her up with a part-time position in the cafeteria at TechCore Solutions headquarters. Light work, he'd promised. Just a few hours a day, 3 days a week. The pay was more than she'd made working full-time at the diner. Her first day at TechCore had been intimidating. The building was all glass and steel, full of young professionals typing on expensive laptops and talking about things Sophia didn't understand. She'd reported to the cafeteria manager, a friendly woman named Carol who'd immediately put her at ease. Don't worry, honey. Mr. Chen told me about your situation. We're going to take good care of you here. Carol had shown her around, explaining that her main job would be restocking supplies and occasionally working the register during lunch rush. And if you're ever feeling tired or need to sit down, you just let me know. No one here is going to push you. Sophia quickly learned that everyone at TechCore knew who she was, not the details, but enough. The pregnant girl Mr. Chen was helping. She could see the curiosity in their eyes, hear the whispers when she walked by. Some people were kind, offering smiles and small talk. Others seemed suspicious, like they were trying to figure out her angle. On her 3rd week of work, a young programmer named Dylan approached her at the register. So what's your deal with the boss? He tried to sound casual, but Sophia could hear the accusation underneath. There's no deal. He's helping me out, that's all. Sophia kept her voice steady even though her face was burning. Right, sure. People like Chen don't just help random people for nothing. Dylan smirked and walked away with his coffee. Sophia's hand shook as she wiped down the counter. She knew people would talk. She just hadn't expected it to bother her so much. That evening, she texted Jennifer about it, not really expecting a response. But her phone rang 5 minutes later. Sophia, it's Alexander. Jennifer told me what happened. His voice was concerned. I'm sorry. I should have anticipated that people would gossip. It's fine. I can handle it. Sophia sat down on her couch, one hand resting on her growing belly. The twins were active tonight, tumbling around like they were training for gymnastics. It's not fine. You shouldn't have to deal with that. He paused. Would it help if I explained the situation to my employees? No, Sophia said quickly. That would make it worse. They already think I'm getting special treatment. If you make some big announcement, it'll just confirm it. Alexander was quiet for a moment. You are getting special treatment, Sophia, and there's nothing wrong with that. You needed help, and I was in a position to provide it. But that's the thing. I don't want to be the charity case everyone pities. I want to earn my place. Sophia felt tears prickling her eyes. Stupid pregnancy hormones. I spent my whole life working for everything I had. Taking handouts makes me feel useless. You're not taking handouts. You're accepting help during a difficult time. There's a difference. His voice was gentle. My mother never accepted help. She was too proud, too stubborn. And it killed her, Sophia. Don't make her mistake. That hit Sophia hard. She wiped her eyes. I'm sorry. I know you're doing something incredibly kind. I just don't know how to accept it without feeling guilty. Then work on accepting it. That's your job right now. Not proving yourself to my employees or earning your place. Just focus on staying healthy and preparing for those babies. After they hung up, Sophia sat in the quiet apartment thinking about what he'd said. Alexander had visited twice since she moved in, both times brief and professional. He'd checked to make sure she had everything she needed, asked about her doctor appointments, and left. He maintained a careful distance, like he was afraid of overstepping. But his concern was genuine. She could hear it in his voice, see it in the way he looked at her, like he was making sure she was really okay. The next doctor's appointment was on a Friday. Jennifer drove her to Dr. Morrison's office, which was in a medical building, so fancy it had a piano player in the lobby. The receptionist knew her name before Sophia even introduced herself. Dr. Morrison was thorough and kind, spending almost an hour examining Sophia and the twins. Everything looks good. The babies are developing well, though they're measuring a bit small. We'll want to monitor that. She pulled up the ultrasound images on a large screen. See, baby A is here and baby B is right below. Both heartbeats are strong. Sophia stared at the screen, watching the tiny forms move and shift. Her babies. 2 little lives depending on her to keep it together. The weight of that responsibility had never felt heavier. Are you feeling them move regularly? Dr. Morrison asked. All the time. Especially at night. I think they're already on opposite schedules. The doctor laughed. Get used to that. Twins often tag team their parents. When one sleeps, the other is wide awake. She printed out several ultrasound pictures and handed them to Sophia. I want to see you again in 2 weeks. And Sophia, you're doing a great job. Your stress levels are down, your blood pressure is better. Whatever changes you've made recently, keep it up. Walking out of the doctor's office with those ultrasound pictures in her hand, Sophia felt something shift inside her. She'd been so focused on feeling guilty about accepting help that she hadn't stopped to appreciate what that help meant. She was healthy. The babies were healthy. She had a safe place to live, enough food to eat, and doctors who actually cared about her well-being. That evening, she taped the ultrasound pictures to the refrigerator in her apartment. Then she sat down and wrote a letter. Not to Alexander directly, because saying this to his face would be too emotional. But she needed to put her gratitude into words. She kept it simple. Thank you for giving me a chance to be the mother my babies deserve. Thank you for seeing me when I was invisible. Thank you for caring when no one else did. She signed it, sealed it in an envelope, and left it with the front desk to be delivered to Alexander's office. 2 days later, she got a response. Not a letter, but a text from Alexander's personal number. You don't need to thank me, but if you really want to repay me, do me a favor. When you're back on your feet someday, help someone else who needs it. That's all I ask. Sophia read the message 3 times. Pay it forward. There it was again. She saved the message and made herself a promise. Someday, when she had the means, she'd help someone the way Alexander had helped her. She'd be someone's miracle. But for now, she needed to focus on what Alexander kept telling her. Stay healthy. Prepare for the babies. Accept help without guilt. It was harder than it sounded, but she was trying. The next week at work, Dylan approached her again at the cafeteria. But this time his expression was different. Sheepish, almost apologetic. Hey, I wanted to say I'm sorry for what I said before. About you and Mr. Chen. He rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly. I did some research. Found out about his mom and the foundation he runs. I guess I judged the situation without knowing anything about it. Sophia was surprised but gracious. It's okay. I know how it looks. No, it's not okay. You're just trying to get by and I was a jerk about it. He smiled. For what it's worth, everyone in the office thinks those cinnamon rolls you started making are amazing. Carol said you've been experimenting with recipes. It was true. Sophia had too much time on her hands now that she wasn't working 3 jobs. So she'd started baking. Carol had been encouraging, even letting Sophia try out new items for the cafeteria menu. Turned out people really liked her baking, thanks. It's something I used to do with my grandmother when I was little, before she passed away. Well, you're good at it. Maybe you should consider culinary school or something. Sophia laughed. Maybe someday. But as Dylan walked away, the seed of an idea planted itself in her mind. Culinary school. A real career, not just survival jobs. Before, it would have been impossible. But now, with Alexander's help giving her breathing room, maybe impossible things were becoming possible. That night, she researched culinary programs online. Most were expensive, but there were scholarships available. Her situation, as a single mother working to better herself, might actually qualify her for financial aid. The more she read, the more excited she became. For the first time since she'd found out she was pregnant, Sophia let herself dream about a future that wasn't just about surviving. Maybe she could build something real. Maybe she could become someone her children would be proud of. And maybe, just maybe, accepting help wasn't a weakness. Maybe it was the first step toward something better. The contractions started on a Tuesday morning. Sophia was making breakfast when the first one hit, a tightening across her belly that made her grip the counter. Too early. She wasn't due for another 3 weeks. But twins rarely waited for their due date, Dr. Morrison had warned her. By noon, the contractions were 5 minutes apart. Sophia called Jennifer with shaking hands. I think it's time. I'm on my way. Don't move. I'm calling an ambulance just to be safe. No, please, ambulances are expensive. I can't. Sophia, stop. Mr. Chen is covering everything, remember? Let us take care of this. The ambulance arrived within minutes. As the paramedics loaded Sophia onto the stretcher, her neighbor, Mrs. Chen, an elderly woman who'd become a friend over the past few weeks, squeezed her hand. You're going to do great, sweetie. Those babies are lucky to have you. At the hospital, everything became a blur of doctors, nurses, and monitors. Sophia had never been so scared in her life. She was alone. No family to hold her hand, no partner to tell her everything would be okay. Just her and 2 tiny babies who were in a hurry to meet the world. Dr. Morrison arrived quickly, calm and reassuring. All right, Sophia. We're going to monitor you for a bit. The babies are coming, but we want to make sure they're ready. You're doing great. Sophia's phone rang. Jennifer. Mr. Chen is on his way. He was in a meeting across town, but he left as soon as I told him. He doesn't need to come. I'm fine. Even as Sophia said it, she desperately wanted someone there with her. 20 minutes later, Alexander burst through the door of her hospital room. Still wearing his suit, but with his tie loosened and his hair messy, like he'd been running his hands through it. He was breathing hard, his face flushed. Sophia, are you okay? Are the babies okay? She'd never seen him look so worried. It caught her off guard. We're okay. They're just coming early. He pulled up a chair next to her bed and sat down, not asking permission, just staying. Jennifer is parking the car. She's bringing your hospital bag from the apartment. You don't have to stay. I know you're busy. Alexander looked at her like she'd said something ridiculous. Where else would I be? The labor lasted 14 hours. Long, exhausting, painful hours where Sophia squeezed Alexander's hand so hard, she was sure she'd break his fingers. He never complained, never left except when the nurses needed to examine her. He brought her ice. Chips, helped her walk the halls when the doctor said movement would help, and talked to her about random things to distract her from the pain. Tell me something about you. Sophia gasped between contractions. Something no one knows. Alexander thought for a moment. I'm terrified of birds. Like genuinely phobic, despite the pain, Sophia laughed. Birds? You run a multi-million-dollar company and you're afraid of birds. When I was 7, a pigeon flew into our apartment through a broken window. It got stuck and kept flying into walls, flapping everywhere. I thought it was going to kill me. He smiled, a little embarrassed. My mother had to chase it out with a broom while I hid under the table. I've been scared of them ever since. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Sophia squeezed his hand as another contraction hit. But thank you. I needed that laugh. Finally, at 2 in the morning, the babies came. First a tiny girl with a surprisingly loud cry, and then 3 minutes later, her sister, quieter and smaller. The nurses placed them both on Sophia's chest for a moment. These two perfect little humans she'd made, before whisking them away to check their vitals. Sophia was crying, exhausted and overwhelmed and terrified. Alexander stood by her bed and she could see tears in his eyes too. You did it, he said softly. They're beautiful, Sophia. The babies were small, just 4 pounds each, and needed to stay in the NICU for monitoring and to help them grow stronger. That first week was the hardest of Sophia's life. She was recovering from delivery, hormonal and emotional, and her babies were in plastic incubators connected to wires and tubes. She could hold them for short periods, but mostly she just sat by their incubators and watched them breathe. Alexander visited every single day. At first, Sophia thought he'd stop by once or twice to check on them, but no. He came every morning before work and every evening after. Sometimes he'd arrive in his suit, clearly coming from the office. Other times he'd show up in jeans and a sweater, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. He'd stand at the NICU viewing window, watching the twins sleep. Sophia noticed he always looked at them with this expression she couldn't quite read, something between wonder and sadness. On the 5th day, Sophia worked up the courage to ask him about it. They were sitting in the NICU family waiting room at 2 in the morning. Neither of them could sleep, both worried about the babies who were fighting so hard to get stronger. Why do you keep coming here? Sophia asked quietly. I mean, I appreciate it more than you know, but you don't have to do this. You've already done so much. Alexander was quiet for a long time, staring at his coffee cup. Can I tell you something? Of course. When my mother died, I was at school. She collapsed at her second job, at a laundromat where she folded clothes for minimum wage. By the time I got to the hospital, it was too late. His voice was steady, but Sophia could hear the pain underneath. She died alone, Alexander, without anyone who loved her holding her hand. I wasn't there when she needed me most. Sophia's heart broke for him. She reached over and took his hand. I built my company, made all this money, but I've spent the last 15 years alone. I have employees, business partners, people who want things from me, but no one who just wants me around. He looked at Sophia, his eyes red. When you sent that text, when I read about your situation, it was like the universe was giving me a second chance. I couldn't save my mother, but maybe I could help save someone else. And then somewhere along the way, it became about more than helping. It became about not wanting to be alone anymore. Alexander, I'm not saying this to make you feel obligated. I don't expect anything from you. I just want you to understand why I keep showing up. It's not just charity or guilt. It's because sitting here with you, watching those 2 little fighters in there grow stronger, makes me feel like I have a purpose again, like I'm part of something that matters. Sophia didn't know what to say. She'd been so focused on accepting his help, on not being a burden, that she hadn't considered what he might be getting out of this arrangement. He was lonely. This powerful, successful man who seemed to have everything was actually searching for the same thing she was. Connection. Family. Purpose. For what it's worth, Sophia said, I'm glad you keep showing up. I don't think I could do this without you. They sat in comfortable silence after that. 2 people who'd found each other by accident and were slowly becoming something like family. The twins came home after 2 weeks in the NICU. Sophia named them Lily and Rose, simple names that reminded her of her grandmother's garden. Alexander helped her carry the car seats up to the apartment, both of them terrified they were going to drop something or break these fragile little humans. The first night home was chaos. The babies cried in shifts just like Dr. Morrison had predicted. Sophia was exhausted, fumbling with bottles and diapers and trying to remember which baby had eaten when. Around 3 in the morning, her doorbell rang. It was Alexander, standing in the hallway in sweatpants and a t-shirt, holding a bag from the 24-hour pharmacy. I couldn't sleep knowing you were over here alone with both of them. I brought reinforcements. He held up the bag. More diapers, some of that gas medicine the nurse recommended, and coffee. Lots of coffee. Sophia wanted to tell him to go home, that she could handle it. But the truth was she couldn't, not alone. Not tonight. Come in, she said, stepping aside. They spent that night walking the floor with crying babies, heating bottles, changing diapers, and basically having no idea what they were doing. Around sunrise, both babies finally fell asleep at the same time. Alexander and Sophia collapsed on the couch, exhausted and punch-drunk. "I think Rose has your stubbornness," Alexander said, his eyes half closed. "She did not want to take that bottle. And Lily has your hair. See how it sticks up in the back?" They looked at each other and started laughing. The kind of tired, delirious laughter that comes from surviving something difficult together. And Sophia realized something that should have terrified her, but instead felt right. Alexander wasn't just helping her anymore. He was becoming part of their lives, part of their family, and she was okay with that, more than okay. He fell asleep on her couch that morning, too tired to drive home. Sophia covered him with a blanket and went to check on the babies. They were sleeping peacefully in their cribs, tiny and perfect and completely unaware that their little family was becoming something neither Sophia nor Alexander had expected, but something both of them desperately needed. 6 months after the twins were born, Sophia barely recognized her own life. She'd started online classes, working toward a business degree with a focus on hospitality management. Her dream of culinary school had evolved into something bigger. She wanted to understand the business side too, maybe open her own bakery someday. Alexander's foundation had provided a scholarship that covered everything. The twins were thriving. Lily was the cautious one, always watching and thinking before she acted. Rose was fearless, already trying to pull herself up on furniture and getting into everything. They had Alexander wrapped around their tiny fingers. He'd become a constant presence in their lives. Most evenings after work, he'd show up at Sophia's apartment with takeout or groceries. He'd sit on the floor and play with the girls while Sophia studied or prepared dinner. On weekends, he'd take them to the park, pushing the double stroller while Sophia walked beside him, and strangers would smile at them like they were a real family. But they weren't. Not really. They were something undefined, somewhere between friends and family, with feelings that neither of them had the courage to name out loud. Sophia had noticed the change in Alexander over the months. He smiled more, laughed easier. His assistant Jennifer had mentioned that people at work were commenting on how different he seemed, happier, more human. "You and those babies have been good for him," Jennifer had said over coffee one afternoon while babysitting so Sophia could go to a dental appointment. "I've worked for Mr. Chen for 8 years and I've never seen him this content." Sophia knew she'd changed too. She'd gained confidence, started to believe she deserved good things. She'd made friends with other mothers in the building. She'd even forgiven herself for the mistakes that had led to her being alone and pregnant. The past was the past. What mattered was building a future for her daughters. But everything changed on a Saturday in November. Alexander had invited Sophia and the twins to dinner at his penthouse. She'd never been to his place before. He'd always come to her, maintaining that careful boundary between them. But tonight was different. He said he wanted them to meet his family. Sophia's stomach had been in knots all day. Family meant this was serious, whatever this was. She dressed the twins in matching outfits, cute little dresses with tiny bows. She changed her own outfit 3 times before settling on a simple blue dress that made her feel pretty, but not like she was trying too hard. Alexander's penthouse was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Modern furniture, artwork that probably cost more than Sophia had made in her entire life. But it felt cold somehow. Impersonal, like a hotel room instead of a home. His father was already there when they arrived. Richard Chen was tall and stern, dressed in an expensive suit even on a Saturday evening. He looked at Sophia and the twins with an expression that made her want to leave immediately. "So you're the girl my son has been wasting his time on." His voice was ice cold. "Father, don't." Alexander's tone carried a warning. He took the diaper bag from Sophia's shoulder, his hand brushing hers in a gesture of support. "Wasting his time," Richard continued, ignoring his son. "Throwing away money on some struggling single mother and her illegitimate children? Do you have any idea how this looks? The CEO of a major company playing house with his charity case?" Sophia felt like she'd been slapped. She'd known people judged their situation, but hearing it said so bluntly by Alexander's own father made her feel small and ashamed. Rose started fussing in her arms, picking up on the tension. "That's enough." Alexander's voice was quiet but firm. He took Rose from Sophia and held her against his shoulder, rubbing her back in the soothing gesture he'd perfected over the months. Sophia's not a charity case. She's family. Family? Richard laughed bitterly. She's a gold digger who trapped you with a sob story and some other man's babies. Wake up, Alexander. People like her are only interested in people like us for one reason. Get out. Alexander's voice was steady, but his eyes were blazing. Get out of my home right now. Don't be ridiculous. I'm trying to protect you from making a massive mistake. The only mistake I've made was waiting so long to tell you to leave. Sophia has never asked me for anything. Every step of the way, I've had to convince her to accept help. She's worked harder than anyone I know to build a life for her daughters. And those babies? He looked down at Rose, then over at Lily, who Sophia was holding. I love them like they're my own. So if you can't respect that, if you can't respect Sophia, then you're not welcome in my life. Richard stared at his son in shock. You're choosing them over your own family? I'm choosing the family I want. The one built on love and respect, not obligation and judgment. Alexander walked to the door and opened it. Goodbye, Father. After Richard left, the apartment fell into heavy silence. Sophia was shaking, tears streaming down her face. Alexander, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to come between you and your family. You didn't. He did, with his prejudice and narrow-mindedness. Alexander set Rose in her bouncer and came over to Sophia. He gently took Lily from her arms and placed her next to her sister, then took both of Sophia's hands in his. I need to tell you something. I should have said it months ago, but I was scared. Sophia's heart was pounding. What? I'm in love with you. I have been for a while now. I love you, and I love those girls like they're mine. I wake up thinking about all of you. I rush through meetings so I can get to your apartment and hear about your day. I've never been happier than I am when I'm sitting on your floor at 2 a.m, holding a crying baby while you heat up a bottle. He took a shaky breath. I know this whole situation started in an unconventional way. I know you might not feel the same. But I needed you to know. After tonight, after choosing you over my father, I needed you to understand why. Sophia was crying harder now, but for different reasons. You really love us. More than I knew I could love anything. Even though they're not biologically yours? Even though I came with so much baggage? Alexander smiled through his own tears. Especially because of that. You're the strongest person I've ever met, Sophia. You survived things that would have broken most people. And those girls? They're mine in every way that matters. Biology is just science. Love is what makes a family. Sophia threw her arms around his neck, holding him tight. I love you too. I've been so scared to say it because I thought maybe you were just being kind, or you felt obligated, or a million other reasons. But the truth is, somewhere between the helicopter and the NICU and all those sleepless nights, I fell completely in love with you. They stood there holding each other while the twins played happily in their bouncers, babbling to each other in their secret twin language. When they finally pulled apart, Alexander cupped Sophia's face in his hands. I want to do this right. I want us to be a real family. Not just me helping you, but partners. Equal partners building a life together. What about your company? What will people say? Let them talk. I don't care anymore. The board answers to me, not the other way around. He kissed her forehead. I want to adopt the girls officially if you'll let me. I want them to have my name, to know I'm their father in every legal sense. And someday when you're ready, I want to marry you. Not because you need me to, but because I can't imagine my life without all of you in it. Sophia laughed and cried at the same time. That's the best proposal I've ever heard. Even if it wasn't technically a proposal. Oh, it will be. When I actually propose, it'll be romantic and perfect. This is just me laying all my cards on the table. Over the next few months, they made it official. Alexander legally adopted Lily and Rose, a process that involved paperwork and court dates but ultimately resulted in him becoming their father in the eyes of the law. The day the judge signed the papers, Alexander cried as much as Sophia did. They got married 6 months later in a small ceremony at the apartment building's rooftop. Carol from the cafeteria was there, along with Jennifer, Dr. Morrison, and several of Sophia's classmates from her online program. Mrs. Chen from down the hall watched the twins during the ceremony, though Lily and Rose made an appearance for photos, wearing tiny flower girl dresses. Sophia wore a simple white dress she'd picked out herself, insisting she didn't need anything expensive. Alexander wore a suit but no tie, looking more relaxed than anyone had ever seen him. When they exchanged vows, they promised to be partners, to support each other's dreams and to give their daughters a life filled with love and opportunity. After the wedding, Sophia continued her degree program. Alexander's foundation had been so impressed with her insights into poverty and assistance programs that they hired her as a consultant. Who better to design effective help for struggling mothers than someone who'd lived it? She started a program that combined housing assistance with education and job training, modeled after what Alexander had done for her. Within a year, they'd helped 40 families get back on their feet. Sophia found her purpose in paying forward the miracle she'd been given. 2 years after that wrong number text, Sophia stood in the nursery of their new house, watching Alexander read bedtime stories to Lily and Rose. They were 3 years old now, speaking in full sentences and asking endless questions about everything. They called him Daddy and he called them his girls, again, Rose demanded when he finished the story. One more, then sleep, Alexander negotiated, winking at Sophia over their heads. As he started the story again, doing silly voices that made the girls giggle, Sophia thought about how a single mistake had changed everything. A wrong number text sent in desperation had connected her to exactly the right person. Not because Alexander had money or resources, though those had certainly helped, but because he'd seen her, really seen her, when everyone else had looked past her. They'd saved each other, really. She'd given him a family to love, and he'd given her the chance to become the person she'd always had the potential to be. Together, they'd built something neither of them could have created alone. A family. A real one born not from biology or obligation, but from choice and love, and two people brave enough to take a chance on each other. And it all started with a text message sent to the wrong number that turned out to be exactly right.